Welcome back to Drinking by My Shelf. It is the 12th day of Vlogmas, and today I am finally getting round to balancing the books. So this is balancing the books from November. It took me a while to get to it because we just moved house at the beginning of this month, as you may know if you watch my moving house vlog, and I've only just started unpacking my books. This is the one shelf I've done so far. All of that in the corner that you can kind of see is still the rest of my books. We're going to end up with like 4 bookshelves along here, I think. Finally though, I'm actually going to have room for all of my books. I'm very excited. Anyway, I have at least now got the books that I wanted to talk to you about. So this is my new chilled format of balancing the books, where I still add up all the books that came in and off my TBR. I just don't have any rules about getting rid of them because I can't deal with that right now, especially not this month, as you will see. What is that loud noise coming through the wall? It's like our neighbours are mowing their lawn, but inside. Okay, we're going to start with the haul. I'm going to start with the books I hauled to get that bit over with. I mean, to get it over with, it's going to take like 3 years. This is my book haul this month. Jeezy craze. And this does not even include all the ones on my Kindle. I cannot even believe it. I cannot believe I hauled this many books. Oh, Lord help me. To be fair, the reason this haul this month is so big is actually because I finally brought home from the office all the books I've been gathering there for the last few months. So my last month balancing the books was very successful. I ended up 5 books down, but that's kind of because I accidentally cheated and didn't count all the books I'd hauled from work. So I've got like 3 months worth of books here. Whoops. But at least I'm telling you about them now, and we're just not going to worry about the end score. Everything's fine. Let's go through it. So I started November with 36 books on my TBR. Let's see where we've got to. A book that I hauled from NetGalley is Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield. So I just last month read, what's her book called? The 13th Tale, with Books and Things. She did a read along of it, and I loved it. So the second I saw she had another book coming out, I instantly requested it from NetGalley. It seemed like this one is kind of almost fantasy-ish, which I'm intrigued by. Another NetGalley one was Outside by Sarah Ann Jarks. That one looks like it's going to be like Room, so it's about a girl who has always lived inside this room and wants to know what's on the outside. I got The Last by Hannah Jameson, which is like post-apocalyptic. A nuclear bomb goes off. Our main character is trapped in a hotel with only about like 20 people. Who knows if anyone else is even left alive. And then a body is found. So they know that somebody in the hotel is a murderer. Dun dun dun. Very exciting. I'm doing these quickly, by the way, because we've got so many to get through. But as always, love to hear your guys' opinions and trash my TBR if any of these are not worth my time, because I'm rapidly running out of time in my life to ever read all of these books. Okay, the next one that I got sent is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. Now, this one actually just arrived unrequited. That's not the right word. Unsolicited. And usually I don't read books that show up unsolicited because I've just got too much else to read. But I was just so intrigued by this one, so I kept it. So it's about these girls at a boarding school in the 50s, and it's a school for damaged girls, girls with broken reputations. So that's in the past, and then we also have a present-day storyline where this journalist's sister was murdered years ago near this boarding school, and we're going to kind of see how the stories intersect. I thought it sounded very exciting. The light in here is very orange, isn't it? Then I hauled A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James, and this one was for my book club that I'm in, IRL, with my friends from uni, and it's about the attempted assassination of Bob Marley, basically. Oh, my battery's flashing. New battery, sorry for the sudden jump, I don't know where the camera was before. Oh, I also, in the move, cannot find my tripod, so you're balanced on a pile of books. That's why you might be at a funny angle. Okay, where was I? I hauled The Brief History of 7 Killings, but I already DNF'd this one, so it goes off my TBR. Whew, at least one down. Okay, for another book club, I hauled And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. Look how pretty, I love these covers. These are the original paperback covers, but redone, except this one obviously has a change of title, because the original title was terrible. I already read this one, I read it for my book club. I have a video that just went up like 2 days ago, so I will link to that. I loved it. This was my first Agatha Christie, and it was so much fun. Oh my goodness, I'm now going to read all of the Agatha Christie that I can find. So if you want my full reading vlog, click the link below. But basically, this is great. So much fun. So exciting and tense. Another one from NetGalley, I got The Rumour by Leslie Cara. So that is about a woman living in a small seaside town, and a rumour starts to spread that one of the women in their town is actually a convicted child murderer, as in she was a murderer when she was a child and is now living under witness protection, and they're trying to figure out who it is, and it's about that rumour spreading. Scandal, love that stuff. Okay, I have 2 books here by the same author. These were given to me by my lovely colleague Andy, who I know watches these, so hello Andy. This one sounds actually like And Then There Were None, in that it's about 10 people on an island and one of them is a murderer, so I bet I know where she got her inspiration for that. And this one sounds really fun and creepy. #murder trending is about a prison where the executions are like live streamed on social media. So I feel like it's going to be kind of The Circle meets Hunger Games kind of thing. So I'm excited to read those. Sorry I still haven't, Andy. I promise I will soon. Okay, I also brought home from the office An Anonymous Girl by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. They wrote The Wife Between Us. This is their second book. They write them together. Like, they write every line together. That blows my mind. So this is about a woman who is invited to do a survey on ethics and morality, then the questions get really creepy and personal. And their book last year was like all about the big twist. So I feel like this one's going to have a big twist as well. We're still going. Can you believe we're still going? A Whole Life by Robert Seataler. So this one, I did a book break episode a few weeks ago where I went to Mr. B's bookshop in Bath and he recommended books personalised for me. It was a really, really fun experience called The Reading Spa. I will link to that video. So many videos for you to go click on. And I ended up choosing 5 books of his recommendations. I already hauled the last 4 in last month's video, but I didn't buy this one at that time because it's actually a Pan Macmillan one, so I just got it from work. Sneaky. Oh, I haven't said what it's about. So it's called A Whole Life, and it's about a man's whole life, which is amazing because it's such a small book. Just like living his life. I got recommended this one because I said that I love slow, beautiful books where nothing really happens, but you fall in love with the characters, and this was what he picked. So that's the vibe we're going for there. I Love You Too Much by Alicia Drake. This one I also got from work, ready to read it to go to Paris in another book break episode, which I won't link to because it's not up yet. It'll go up in January. And I read it and I loved it. It's very sad. So it's about this boy growing up in Paris in this rather wealthy area, being rather neglected by his parents. I did actually recommend this one in my Let Me Entertain You video if you want another video to click on with more details. It's about his friendship with a girl from his class, and it's about his relationship with his parents, and it was just a very sad and lovely and moving book, I thought. What else have we got? Gingerbread by Helen Oyeyemi. This is my first Helen Oyeyemi. I haven't read anything about her before and people love her. So I'm halfway through this one, so it's still on my TBR. I'm more than halfway. I'm like 2/3. I paused because I have so many books to read for work in December, and this one I was just reading for fun. So I don't have time for that. So I paused it. I will come back to it. It's about gingerbread. This woman who comes from this country called Druhastrana, which, like, according to Wikipedia and all maps ever, doesn't exist, but she's like, it does exist. And she now lives in England with her mother and her daughter, and she makes this amazing gingerbread with this sort of magical qualities, but you can't quite work out if it's like scary gingerbread or good gingerbread. The whole vibe is like that. I'm like, am I supposed to be happy and dreamy, or am I supposed to be really creeped out? And then we get like flashbacks to her life in this country that doesn't exist. And I can't really tell you what's going on yet, but I just know that I'm enjoying it and it's magical and strange. Okay, we're getting there. We are getting there. Sorry this is such a whirlwind tour of these books, but we would be here literally all night if I talked in depth about them. So you're getting what you're getting. This one is The Distance Home by Paula Saunders, and this one has been absolutely raved about by people at the office, so I couldn't resist taking it home. This is about a brother and sister growing up in America in the 60s, and they are both brilliant dancers. But it's a talent that their parents love in the daughter and not in the son. And it just sounds rather gorgeous and probably sad. Again, all the books I read are sad. Or scary. They're sad or they're scary. Okay. The Dead Girls. This is a satirical black comedy based on a true story of these 2 brothel-owning serial killers. So dark. How dark is that? So it's these 2 sisters who run a brothel very successfully, but then when business goes dark, the girls start disappearing. It was first published in 1983, and this is the English translation of it. 4 left. We have 4 left. If you watched the Halloween episode on Book Break, which I will link to below, it was really fun. It was just about scary books, and I went on a ghost tour of Newcastle to do it, and that was just great. So much haunting going on in Newcastle that I never knew about. But if you watched it, you will have seen that I talked about these 2 books by Fiona Cummins, Rattle and The Collector. And these are both about a serial killer called the Bone Collector, who collects children with unusual bone deformities because he's like really interested in their skeletons. Sounds so creepy. So creepy. So I took these both home, maybe for next Halloween. And then I also have another book by the same author. This is her newest book, The Neighbour. Not part of that series, but also about a serial killer. So this is about a couple that move into a new area in the suburbs with their children, but then a series of murders happen in the area and they realise there is more going on than it seems. And I like this proof. It's really clever. So it's like the blurb is written on this for sale sign. So it's like, ooh, come into this scary area. There's murderers here. So that's 3 whole books by this author that I haven't even read yet. I hope I like her. And the last one, we made it to the last book that I hold this month. And that is the most exciting one of all, Ogre Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. It is no secret how much I love Ella Enchanted. I talk about it more than almost anything else, really. And she wrote a prequel. This is an actual other book in the Ella Enchanted universe. It's got Lucinda in it. This is kind of one of those books I feel like I'm going to own but never read because, oh, it's purple. That's not why I'm not going to read it. I love that it's purple. It's cool and shiny. I'm just so scared because I love Ella Enchanted so much. Nothing's ever going to live up to it. So I'm scared of ever actually reading this one because I don't want to be disappointed, but I'm so excited to own it. And of course, I will read it. Don't be silly, Emma. I just need to get the courage. So, where are we? We started on 36. I wasn't counting all of that. Hang on, let me just do a quick count. You guys already know the answer because it'll be on your screen by now. Does it say 52 on the screen? I think it should say 52. I hope it says 52. That's a lot of books. But we're not quite finished because I did also read some books other than the ones of that I mentioned I read, which was not very many. I read, right at the beginning of the month, The House of Birds by Morgan McCarthy, which I adored and is in that same Let Me Entertain You video that I talked about earlier. So, for the last time, I will link to that below if you would like a full wrap-up of this one. But I loved it. It's this parallel timeline story. In present day, we have a man whose girlfriend inherits this house in Oxford. I love books set in Oxford. And he goes to help her organise it. And while he's there, he finds this diary of a woman who lived there generations ago. So we also get that timeline of her experience of living there and living in Oxford. And there's this mystery about what happened to her and how she's related to the family that now own the house. It's one of those wonderful Kate Morton-esque timeless stories all about a place. And it's done beautifully. Really recommend. I did read Hidden Bodies by Carolyn Kepnes, but this doesn't count as one going off my TBR because this was a reread. This is the sequel to You by Carolyn Kepnes, and it's just not that good as a sequel, actually. I remember when it first came out, I read it and I quite liked it, and it had like pretty hit and miss reviews, but I was like, it was alright. But I think that's because it had actually been a really long time since I'd read the first one. But now reading them both in a row, is definitely not as good. So that was a meh one. I read Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which again was a meh, which is such a shame because I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. And when I say that, I just mean that I love The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. But I also really enjoyed Maybe Another Life when I read it a few years ago. Like, it didn't blow my mind when I read it, and I should have remembered that, but I just liked it okay. And then when The Seven Husbands did blow my mind, I kind of just like reinterpreted my history and was like, maybe I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. But this one was just okay. It was a very sad story. It's very moving and I enjoyed reading it. It's about this couple called Ben and Elsie, and they fall in love so quickly and they get married within months of meeting. It's this whirlwind love story, which we'll come back to because I didn't enjoy that. And then just about 9 days after they get married, Ben is hit by a car on his bike and he dies. So Elsie suddenly finds herself widowed from this man who she doesn't even know that well. She's never met his mother, she's never really met any of his extended family, so she has to go to the funeral and not know anybody. Basically, it's about her relationship with her mother-in-law. They hadn't met before, and at first the mother-in-law does not want to accept her, and then it's about them kind of building their relationship together and working through their grief together. So it's very sweet and it's very moving, but it just didn't have any of the like oomph that Seven Husbands did. It didn't have any of the power. It didn't have any of the feminism. There were lots of bits I was like, ugh, find that irritating in romances. This is her first book, so I'm still going to read some others of hers and see how I get on with them. But I found the romance very irritating. Partly because it was insta-lovey, but it was such this like overwrought, needy relationship, which to me does not seem romantic or passionate at all. I just didn't really like either of those people. So Elsie is quite like impulsive and she gets quite angry, and that's fine. I get that. Like, female characters don't have to be likeable, and it's actually very relatable to... I do that kind of stuff sometimes to my husband, like just go off on totally irrational, like, shouting fits. But I appreciate that he doesn't just, like, get on his knees and cry and beg me never to leave him. Like, he's just like, Emma, you're being irrational, and then we talk it through. Whereas the husband in this was so, like, terrified of her leaving that he would just cry and, like, let her get her way and let her do whatever she wanted, which to me didn't mean that either of them were growing as people. And I just found that irritating. I just found it, like, not an interesting love story to watch happen. So yeah, overall just very disappointed with this one. I did like reading it, but I gave it like a 3. I'm intrigued to see what other books I like. And then finally I read The Homemaker by Dorothy Canfield Fisher, which I got out especially for this video, and then I put it somewhere, and somehow it's ended up back in one of those boxes because it's not on the shelf and it's not on the windowsill, so I don't have it here. But I did a whole video about this book. I said for the last time I'd tell you to link, but it wasn't the last time because now I'm telling you. I did a whole video where I built a gingerbread house, or attempted to build a gingerbread house, while talking about the book, and I, like, mega failed at building that house. And it was only while editing the video that I was like, Emma, you didn't put any icing in between the walls of the house, that's why it kept falling over. So do feel free to go and watch me fail at that and laugh at how ridiculous I was being. But also in there I will tell you all about this amazing, amazing book. One of the best books I read this year, that in brief is about a couple in the 1920s who, the woman is the homemaker and the man goes out to work. They both hate those roles, and then when the man has an accident and is left in a wheelchair and has to stay at home, they have to swap roles, and they suddenly completely come into their own and find that he thrives being at home with the children doing their housework, and she thrives going out and doing work. And it's kind of about that, but also about how society refuses to accept those different roles for them. It's fantastic and I loved it. Whew! So, maths again, I should now have 49 books on my TBR. Lol. Considering that it took me all the way up to November to get down from like 74, or whatever I started January the 1st with, I think it was 74, down to 36. And then in 1 month, I've gone right back up to 49. Whoops, soz TBR, but now I have all this shelf space, so who cares? So leave me a comment below letting me know what you hauled this month, and if you want to trash any of my TBR books. And give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and of course subscribe to this channel because I am posting new videos every day of Vlogmas. And they are all in wildly, confusingly different locations because moving house is very strange. I'm gonna go and read some of this ridiculous pile of books now. See you next time!